Hey guys, welcome to Alumni Chat. I'm Anthony Tucker, BHS class of 2007. I'm here with my friend Chief Kevin Ickleberry, Col High class of 1981. Chief, thanks for joining us today on Alumni Chat.
Pleasure to be here.
So we're going to travel in time with Chief Ickleberry today, go back to the 80s, late 70s, and we'll also talk about what kept him here in Bartlesville, right, and serving the community, which I've heard the story, and some of you out there in our alumni network have heard it. And it's a good one. And I enjoy you telling it, Chief. So talk to me about what was your favorite memories back in the day at Col High? Like, what was your favorite part of high school?
Favorite part of high school was probably just getting to know the people in the high school, classmates. Also, I remember my 1974 tan Vega that I drove back then. It was a high class ride for me back in the day, but I remember that. Remember working part of the day as a work study program. That was part of my day, and leaving there and going to Mr. Limey's to work at the restaurant, and just the overall camaraderie between the classmates and watching everybody compete. Watching football games, enjoying the football games, and going to the football games and being part of that, and seeing the band and. Just the overall experience was good for me.
Mr. Limey's, that's a throwback.
That's a throwback.
I had a classmate of mine who had passed away while we were in middle school in a car accident. His grandparents owned Mr. Limey's. So when we were playing soccer on Saturdays, right, we would go get some food and get hooked up with the big plate. And their sign, remember, it used to turn around there?
Yeah.
So there's some throwback memories. I actually passed by that shopping, district over their establishment, and I thought about that the other day. So it's cool you brought it up.
Yeah.
So talk to me about what it was like, Col High versus Sooner High.
Oh, those days were pretty crazy. It was started out with a lot of fun, but a lot of people ended up in trouble.
Yeah.
So the normal high school thing, you got kids doing crazy things that were simple and easy at first. Egging cars, egging houses, and TPing trees and houses, and then burning the Spartan if you could steal it. So people
I've heard those stories.
People were stealing the Spartan and. Or the Wildcat, you spend time building the Wildcat, and then you have a bonfire, and where others would burn it. So it was pretty crazy time, but it was a lot of fun.
Now, what did you play? Any sports?
I did not play any sports.
Were there any activities or student organizations you were a part of during your time?
No, working mainly.
Just working. Now, what's cool is I think we've talked about this, and Chief Ickleberry's wife works for BPS as a director of safety, and work study has come full circle. It's back this year. We just launched. I was talking at a chamber event this morning, and was like, our kids need some jobs, so I'm asking you today because they know they can leave school early, and we had that program in the early 2000s. But those are good soft skills to develop, right?
Sure, I had two great instructors. I had Frank Morrison, and his son Alum was a classmate of mine. Frank was a great man. He at one time owned Ace Hardware down on Quapaw Street. Very good man. And then I had Ben Webster. I'm sorry. What's his last name? Ben West. Sorry. Ben West was my teacher one year, and he became the superintendent over at Pawhuska for a while. Another good man that I really enjoyed. But they were very instrumental in keeping the work program going at that time. And I remember we did Zig Ziglar was our motivator.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's crazy that when you actually pause and you reflect, and we were talking about this off camera, when you think about those people that have impacted your life, and you kind of think back, and for me, mine was Darla Tresner, who's still there.
Sure.
I had journalism all 4 years, and what we're doing today wouldn't be possible if she didn't inspire me then, and we restarted video broadcasting back in the day. But it's those people throughout your life that kind of open a little door, give you a little pat through the door, like, you got this. Sometimes when you're holding yourself back.
Sure. One memory I had from as a senior in high school was I never thought I'd get any type of award, but throughout my school career, from kindergarten through high school, I didn't miss a day of school. And so my third grade teacher, Mrs. Fern Boatwright, followed me and the whole time. And my senior year, senior awards day, I ended up getting a perfect attendance award for my whole school career. So that was pretty cool.
So you weren't expecting any award that day, and they call your name, and you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Mrs. Boatwright was really instrumental. You know, you always have that teacher that's instrumental in your career, the school career. Your favorite teacher, the one that really made an impact on you. I think that's what's important for the teachers to understand is they may not see it initially, but it does make an impact.
Yeah, and especially in this generation, right?
Sure.
You know, Chuck has talked about, our superintendent, Chuck McCauley, has talked about the anxious generation, right? And it's a book that leadership is reading, is how do we get kids disconnected from the device and reconnected to people that are within their life, especially within the school setting, right?
Absolutely.
How do they see our SROs, right?
That's
and connect with our SROs, maybe join Police Explorers,
Absolutely.
Connect with me, learn about the work program or
That's
career
right.
internship. It's just looking up and being connected.
Relationships are very important, very important.
So now you graduate high school. What do you do right after high school?
Right after high school, I continued working at the restaurant. I became the manager of the restaurant, and I did that for several years. I worked at the restaurant for 15 years, so 12 years after I graduated high school, I was still working at the restaurant, and then I got interested in, I was interested early on in law enforcement, but then I got reintroduced to it in 1989 and became a police reserve officer.
When did you transition to a full-time officer?
In 1995.
So you went, 6 years roughly as a reserve. What led you to become a police officer?
Well, that's interesting too. When I was 7 years old, there was a man that moved in next door to me named Pat Ballard, and I tell the story a lot, but Pat Ballard was a brand new police officer at the time. He went away to police academy, and when he came back, he was very good to me as a neighbor, became a good friend over the years, and he was instrumental, along with Joyce Thurman, who had Mr. Limeys. They were instrumental in getting me involved in the police reserve program, and so they supported me through that. And so actually in 1995, the city of Bartlesville was not hiring police officers at the time. The economy had taken a downturn, and they had frozen hiring. But Pat Ballard, my childhood hero, had retired from the police department and became the sheriff of Washington County. And I applied with him, and he gave me a job as a field deputy. So for a year, I worked as a field deputy in Washington County Sheriff's Office.
And then how did you get to BPD?
Shortly after I went to work for the sheriff's office, the city manager, or the chief at the time, Steve Brown, contacted me to see if I was interested in working for the police department. And I spoke to Pat Ballard about that, and he was very supportive of me. He told me that in his way, if anybody knows Pat, and in his way, he said there was two options. I can either fire you or you can quit and go to work for the city. And that was his way of saying, you can do better than what we can offer you here at the sheriff's office. And from that point forward, he was always supportive, always supportive.
Now, how many years have you been with Bartlesville Police Department?
In December of this year, it'll be 29 years.
That's amazing. And your most of your life has just been dedicated to service and serving our community that we share.
Sure.
And why is that so important to you, Chief?
You said it. This is my community. I grew up here, raised here, a lot of friends here. And I run into people, not as many now, but that knew my parents. They've been deceased for quite a while now, but they knew my parents, and those reputations, those connections are important, I think, in raising children and raising a family. So,
And the police department plays such a vital role when we look at the overall value of a community, right? When we're trying to recruit people to come live in our community. This morning at the Chamber Know the Ville event, Chris Batchelder's, class of 1991, Batch is talking about all these new jobs that are coming to the community. And they have a choice right now. Are they going to live in Owasso? Are they going to live in some outside community on the fringe and drive to work and not invest in our community, or to raise their families here? And the police department, and like we were talking about off camera, the programs that you guys are developing, you're embedding the officers with organic relationships within, the community they serve. I mean, it's so vital for having a safe community. You can't have economic development if you don't have a safe community.
You're exactly right. And we want to be connected to the community as much as we can be, whether that's having community meetings, whether that's having block parties like we've been having, whether that's participating in Christmas in the Ville or any of the different programs we participate in. We want to be part of the community, and our officers are part of the community. Their kids go to school here, so they're raising their families here, and we want to make sure that we're good neighbors.
And you bring up the block party. That's such an awesome event for our alums out there who don't live in Bartlesville currently. It has grown substantially. I was lucky enough to be part of it last year with Chief and the team here at BPD, and had kids involved from our school district. And it's so cool to see people come out and have those non-high stakes, conversations with police officers, and they're not getting pulled over, right? It's just like, hey, you're in my community, you're a natural person. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, low stakes. It's fun to hang out, and who can have a bad time when you get free snow cones and free face painting?
That's right.
So let me ask you this. So for our friends out there who are coming back for Bartlesville Homecoming, which is October 4th, we're going to play Sapulpa Chieftains this year. What is something that they should, something new in Bartlesville that they should be on the lookout for?
Oh, something new. I think they just need to see the city. It's changed over the years so much, and when you live here, you don't notice the changes quite as obvious as you do when you come into town. But I think the city overall is trying to stay fresh, is trying to stay new, trying to revitalize things, trying to make things better. The high school is a tremendous asset to the city of Bartlesville. The school has done so well. Chuck McCauley has done such a good job with running the school system here. It has grown tremendously. The programs that are here are just amazing. Having the ag program and the facility there, doing what you're doing is just amazing. And I think, especially if they're coming back to see the city, to see the school, the things they need to look at are some of the new businesses we have here, along with the old stuff that has been made new. I think that speaks well of the city, the priorities of the city. And I would challenge anybody to find a better city to live in, to raise a family in, and to grow up in. And especially leaving and coming back, I think you'll appreciate it even more.
Yeah, and I can attest to that, and I think we had talked about it before, but most of my life had been in corporate life. And, we were in California, found out we're pregnant with our first daughter, and it's like, what are we doing? And then we moved back to Oklahoma. We lived in Edmond for a little bit and had a brand new home and thought that was the dream, right?
Sure.
I'm just a simple old boy. I'm an old Oak Park Panther on the west side. Outkicked my coverage, with my wife. And, my daughter got really sick with RSV, and we're sitting there at the children's hospital. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, let's move home. Now I live within a couple blocks of my mom. And so anytime I need, like last night, I was outside playing with my daughter, and it's like, text my mom, hey, are you free? Sure. She comes over 5 minutes later, she's helping, and they're playing and building a relationship with each other because, time always wins. And
that's right.
And so that's why, having these moments, and so you're not stuck in traffic all the time, or you're not dealing with, high crime rates, high murder rates. You really get to live the good life back home. And speaking of good life back home, I went to Murphy's the other day. We did a part of that video shoot that we had out. So I got them pouring the gravy over, and they were super nice and gave my whole family a free meal that day we were shooting.
Nice.
Did the same thing with Dinks. So it's cool to reconnect with some of those nostalgic restaurants.
Absolutely.
But to Chief's point, we do have a lot of new places downtown as revitalized. We had our friend, class of 1985, Crystal Sayre, the Johnson Sayre building is a great spot with Hideaway there, and I know that they'll be super busy come a homecoming week. So Chief, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you for what you do for our community and what you do for our schools. And you're somebody I definitely look up to.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for the mentorships you're leading in the school. You've started some good programs there. And, we have interns occasionally here from the school, and we appreciate that. Give them a glimpse of law enforcement because we do want to keep our kids here.
Yes, and I'm happy to help with those things because we get more people that are building up within police explorers, internships, interest in criminal justice, at our institutions in Oklahoma, and get them coming back to their hometown and serving like you do. That's what we need more of.
Well, we do need more of that. I love it when we have hometown people that apply for our police department that we can put to work here because we know I know, or I believe, that they care more deeply than those that come in from outside the community, because they're part of the community.
Yeah.
Have been a long time. So.
And they have those relationships. So when you do have to go make an ask, you have people you trust throughout the community in different parts. But I want to thank you for joining us today on Alumni Chat. And Chief and I look forward to having you guys back for homecoming week. So we'll see you October 4th. Have a good one.